This study, and others like it, highlight the potential of peers to spread norms throughout a group. Understanding the relationships between behavior, social learning, and network formation is key to understanding how peers can promote and consolidate positive behavior. Pollock and Shepard, 2012. This can inform the timing and design of innovations that seek to spread positive examples in adolescence, social networks. Recall Box 8.1. Much like a reckless attitude to risk, adolescents sometimes get influenced. They get labeled as lazy, spending too long asleep in bed. But is this true? Box 13.1. Why do teenagers sleep so much? Contrary to widespread belief, adolescents sleep no more than expected for their age. In fact, they are some of the most sleep-deprived sections of our society. In a study of the sleep habits of 1.1 million people from the Netherlands, the UK, and the USA, the prevalence of insufficient sleep and sleepiness was much higher in teenagers than in any other age group. Kokoveska, driven by a change in the way hormones respond to the daily cycle of light and dark, specifically a delay in the release of melatonin. Left undisturbed, this shift causes teenagers to sleep in later to maintain a healthier amount of time spent asleep. However, in many Western societies, this natural shift in sleep behavior is not accommodated by the immovable deadline of getting up and making it to school on time. The timing of the school day has more to do with coordinating bus schedules and originally synchronizing with industry than it does with optimal learning conditions. Some researchers have referred to this misalignment of social and biological time as social jet lag, and it has some serious consequences. We know getting enough quality sleep is important for memory and learning, chapter 10, and it is also positively associated with emotional regulation, quality of life, and mental and physical health, Short et al., 2019. There are thus to getting a good night's sleep, and lobby groups have long argued for later school start times on this basis. However, despite numerous studies indicating the benefits of delaying school start times, it is not being widely adopted because the school ecosystem has a powerful inertia. A different start time for some pupils would mean different teachers' schedules for different pupils, as well as different drop-off and pick-up times for partners, thereby affecting their work. And then there are the impacts of wraparound care, sports club, and so on to consider. Sending teenagers to bed early isn't going to help either, because the melatonin shift means they would just lie there awake instead. Some researchers have focused on providing sleep education to teenagers and utilizing light therapy to help combat the problem of sleepy adolescents. Sharman and Lingworth, 2020. Sex differences. Earlier on in the chapter, we noted a sex difference on one measure of risk-taking, namely that across the lifespan, males are more likely to experience traumatic brain injury, TBI, than females. The difference is already apparent. By 4 years of age, is there something peculiar to the sample or to TBIs? In a survey of a broad range of accidental injuries in over 200 countries, adolescent boys are also overrepresented compared to girls. GBD, 2019. Adolescent transport and unintentional injuries collaborators, 2019. and interpersonal violence was ranked among the leading cause of death of older adolescent boys in 2019. World Health Organization 2020, the sex difference in risk taking is reflected in the broader picture on longevity. Global, one of the best ways to increase life expectancy is to be born female. Rochelle et al. 2015. Less significantly, the Darwin Awards are tongue in cheek honours given annually to people who die through outstanding misapplication of judgment. DarwinAwards.com. The reference to Darwin implies that the recipients of the award positively contribute to human evolution by selecting themselves out of the gene pool. Previous winners have died while baking bullets in the oven, looking inside a rocket launcher, or having sex while piloting a plane. Honourable mentions go to those who make dumb decisions, but who do not die as a result. One notable example is Larry Walters, who out of curiosity attached helium-filled weather balloons to his lawn chair to see how high he could float. He eventually reached an altitude of 16,000 feet over Long Beach, California, before being fined for crossing controlled airspace. A paper entitled Sex Difference in Idiotic Behavior reported that men were 9 times more likely to be recipient of Darwin Award than women. Lendrum et al. 2014. Why is this? Do men take relatively more risk because they're trying to live up to some socially reinforced stereotype of masculinity? This seems unlikely to be a complete answer for several reasons. First, if society made a big difference, we would expect the sex difference to be smaller, where societies are similar and bigger, where societies are more different. But the evidence suggests that this is wrong on both counts. Women survive longer than men, even when both sexes live in nearly identical societal conditions. Liu, 2003. And where men and women grow up in societies that are different, sex differences remain. For example, in the USA, adolescent boys are overrepresented in car accidents compared to girls. And in foraging societies, boys are also more risks than girls. And men die earlier than women. Apicella et al. 2017, Berger et al. 2020, Blum and Nelson Mari 2004. Second, if human societal attitudes around masculinity were responsible for these differences, then we might expect the differences to disappear when there is no human society. However, males across many different types of animals, frogs, birds, rodents, insects, mammals, engage in more risk-taking than do females. Habig et al. 2017. Presumably, frogs behave the way they do because they feel under pressure to be macho frogs, but because they are just busy being a frog. This greater tendency to take risks can show up in a shorter lifespan. A female's lifespan is on average about 18% longer than that of a male's across a range of over 100 different mammals, including orca, deer, and squirrels. In the wild, Berger et al. 2020, the fact that males across such a wide variety of species and environment take more risks and die earlier than females points to a set of shared causes. Figure 13.4. Key point. Sex differences in mortality and risk-taking persist within smaller societies, between different societies, and across a wide variety of species and environments. Life history theory proposes that each stage in a species development can be can be seen as an adaptation to the social and ecological challenges that it faces at the time of life. We can apply this idea to risk taking, a new challenge that presents itself for the first time in adolescence is finding a mate across a range of species, including mammals. Females typically invest more time, energy, and resources into growing their babies and looking after them than do males. Under these circumstances, it pays females to do more cautious over womb than they mate with because they have more to lose with an unwise choice. This produces competition between males for females because there is more demand than there is supply, and competition is a risky business with winners and losers. Note that this does not automatically mean that one sex is socially dominant over the other. There are many species of animals, such as elephants and bonobo chimpanzees, in which choosy females and competitive males result in matriarchal societies. This does not, however, create a situation in which females should be especially risk averse regarding their children, and in which males should be more willing to take a risk by competing with their male peers. Trivers, 1972. They're exactly the behaviours we see across many species throughout the natural world, and humans show similar behaviours too. Archer, 2019. Adolescence is a time of increased risk taking, and it is also a time when sex differences are becoming more obvious. Groups are becoming less same-sex segregated, and there is an increasing curiosity about sex and sexual development. In one study of risk-taking, adolescent girls did not change their levels of risk-taking in the presence of other males or females, but showed a strong reduction in risk when paired with babies. By contrast, boys who strongly inclined to take more risk when paired with another male of the same age, but showed no change in risk taking with females of the same age or a child. Fisher and Hills, 2012. Seol Sala Rodriguez et al., 2022. Key point: life history theory predicts that boys are more willing to engage in risky behavior in same sex competitive contexts. To be clear, just because a behavior has a biological basis or is adaptive does not mean that it is acceptable, inevitable, or universal. A behavior might be hardwired in the brain, but that does not mean experience does not matter. Indeed, our brains are so powerful precisely because they are sensitive to experience. While we share a long history with other animals, meanings we inherit many of our same behavioral biases. We are clearly different in important ways too. One obvious difference is the way we can pass on cultural knowledge from one generation to the next, chapters 5, 6, 7, and 10. This means societal attitudes and norms around risk taking can and do change over time from place to place. Over history have been radical shifts over what risks adolescents are willing to take. Witness the marked decline in youth smoking, drinking, and pregnancy in recent years. Compared with other animals, we also have a more developed area of the brain known as the prefrontal cortex, which deals with complex decision making, resisting impulses, and planning for long term. This means that neither men nor women are deterministically, deterministically doomed to follow one instinct over all others. A brain equipped with the ability to evaluate risk and reward can weigh the relative merits of one's decisions versus many others. We take a closer look at the ability in the next section.